how it manifests itself in technology, and what the major differences between the younger users and the older users are. Evidence of the generation gap can be found in 3 broad areas that we've broken this down into. You've got your hardware, your devices, technology that people choose to use to accomplish tasks, whether it be work or just entertainment, software, how people accomplish the task on the devices they have, and of course communication, a major part of technology nowadays, the methods people use to combining their hardware and their software to communicate with one another. So we're going to start with hardware.
Isn't that not cool? This is Apple keynote, by the way.
Anyway, what we really noticed is that on a whole, the older generations prefer working more stationary, and the younger generation prefer work on the go. The older generations like laptops and desktops, the younger tablets and smartphones. The older generations are also more likely to stick with what they've worked with in the past. They don't really feel the need to move forward. But you know, the younger generation is always looking for the newest, best, greatest, latest, greatest thing. So then there's software. We're seeing a big shift from applications installed locally on your computer to applications that are located in the cloud, as well as keeping your documents and your photos and all that in the cloud as opposed to on your computer. Your photo library is now essentially on Facebook. You've got not only your own photos, but the photos of everyone else that involve people in your life, photos taken by everyone else that involve people in your life. There's also, the younger generation really doesn't like paying for things. Because why, when they can go to a website, would they spend $500 on Microsoft Office when they get the same thing out of Google or Google? Yeah, pretty. Google's growing concerningly closer to a monopoly, but regardless of that fact. And then finally, probably where it's most evident is in communication. We're seeing a big shift from people talking on the phone, talking in person, to more instantaneous forms of communication, text and instant messaging. The one thing that's interesting is that there does seem to be a preference for social media, which is a little less instantaneous than chat rooms, but it also integrates email-like features, responding at your own leisure, and it integrates instantaneous communication features.
And graphics too. You really can't do graphics in a chat room that much.
That's true.
Yeah, I think.
You can shoot. There's different platforms that have tried to integrate it, but
that's true.
And another thing we're really seeing is that most of the communication will be done on the go. That's why texting and driving is such a huge issue lately. Because not only do people not want to speak on the phone, they also want to continue texting no matter what they're doing at all times. So definitely more face-to-face among the older generation, and less face-to-face among the younger generations. Remote communication.
I can't reach my.
So why do we have this gap? Social pressures are a major factor among youngsters, going way back, but now it's also pressuring them into whatever the newest, biggest, greatest thing is that their friends are all on. So that's, you can see you have Facebook, everyone joins Facebook so they can all communicate with friends. Twitter, everyone sends tweets back and forth. IM, things like AIM, which is getting old now. Skype is the new big thing where everyone can do video in addition to text and voice. But older generations are reluctant to move to and learn new technologies because there might not be a perceived need to do so. Why should you need to learn how to work with Google Apps when you already know how to work with Microsoft Office? You already have your documents saved in Office. What's the benefit? Not everyone sees the benefit of being able to access anything anywhere because maybe they just like to work at their desk. It's about what about whether or not you see the benefits and whether there's a perceived need to move to something different.
There's another reason too. Many of the older folks have corporate lives, and they already have the solutions they're used to in the corporate world that they're familiar with. Plus, it tends to be a more robust, secure solution. So why go to something that's a little more flimsy and less secure when I already know how to do it this way?
And even if it's just for their personal communication, why would they want to learn something completely different? Newer generations embrace what is new and different to demonstrate independence, as well as adopt what works better, smarter, and faster. Better, smarter, faster, of course, being a matter of opinion, but...
True.
Moving to a new technology not only requires you to make the move, it also requires you to learn it, which can be a daunting, confusing task, especially when there's a radical shift in the way these things operate. The example we chose to illustrate here is with cloud versus local storage. With cloud, you have to wrap your head around the fact that your files are only in the program you created them in, and that they're everywhere. They don't have any fixed location. And that can be really hard to grasp for people that are used to working with, just a regular old file system, where you have this folder and this file is in this folder. Things like the iPad and iPhone, they don't even have file systems. They just have, it's completely molded. The document you created in Pages is in Pages. There's no central way to locate all the documents you've created. So how can we narrow the gap, the obviously very large generational gap that technology is creating constantly? And that's by bringing the physical world into it, as I had mentioned earlier. Multi-touch has enabled groundbreaking interface paradigms that resemble real-world interactions, physically turning something to the side using your fingers. This can make using the devices intuitive to the point that no formal interaction or training is required. I'm sure you've probably come across the videos on the internet of maybe the one or 2 year olds using an iPhone or iPad, or pets even, your cat using an iPad. Most animals seem to be able to look through photos on using the iOS photo viewer, whether you're 2 or 102. However, this is great because we're getting to the point where anyone can just pick up a device and use it, but that might only be the case as long as it's an Apple device. They got a head start on the whole multi-touch business, and now they have a lot of patent protection on it. So not all devices can behave the same way due to maybe the manufacturer thought it was better to do it a different way, or because Apple owns the patent on this gesture, that gesture, or what have you. So this can result in confusion, such as trying to use a gesture to rotate the picture when the when the software might just use a button in a menu. My friend works at CVS. He experienced this with their digital photo kiosks there. He had spent 10 minutes explaining to someone that the way you rotate the picture was by pressing the button labeled rotate, not rotating the picture with your finger, and not following the icon of a rotation on the button with your finger. So until we see kind of a universal adoption of a set of gestures and ways of interacting, it's going to be really difficult to go from device to device. There are foundations, I believe, that are trying to establish universal standards for this kind of thing. I'm not sure if you can think of any off the top of your head. I can't. But I know I've heard about it. And there's definitely a call for standardization and to reduce the amount of software patents in general.
Yeah, what strikes me is that, you know me, I'm one of the Apple guys, but it strikes me that Apple's reaching a bit to be able to patent a movement on a device to do something. I suspect that if it ever got up into a higher court, they may lose that, because you can't patent an idea And I think that's something so simple and generic and universal that you really can't patent that either. That's
Just
my
stretching
opinion.
something out.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Apple's stretching themselves. I don't think they can lock it all up the way they want to. But that's a tangent.
So the other thing you might have noticed is that you do have the older generations adopting some of the new technology. Maybe they're a little slower to adopt it, but it is making its way up. Many older people embrace or try new technology in part just to stay connected to the youngsters, so that they can keep up with changing times. Or maybe they just really like the benefit it gives them and the way it improves their lives. Many technologies are becoming increasingly popular with the older generations. For example, cell phones, cell phones and iPods, and to a lesser extent, iPads and smartphones. Facebook, because it's kind of infectious to be able to keep tabs on your friends. So once a couple of people are on there, they start, gotta join Facebook with me. Everybody has to be on Facebook. Instant messaging, because there's obviously very clear benefit to that, sending messages